You ready?
Okay, I'm introducing here your Anand, who is going to present something on EMC Academic Alliance. I just like to give her full access. Here we go.
All right. Thank you, Pierre. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to the session. One thing that might not be in the description is my portion of the presentation I've abbreviated to about 20 minutes. Because Dr. Timur Mirogoff, who's at Southern University, who's been doing our program for the last 3 years, is going to do a demo for 20 minutes or a little bit longer on how to set up OpenFiler, which is an open source software that allows you to do storage piece.
So, Tim, can you talk
closer to this? Sorry. So I think that will be really valuable because I could talk about our program and what the curriculum looks like. So we can actually give you something really tangible that you can walk away from. Thanks, Pierre. So anyhow, so I'm going to keep this part, like I said, a lot of these slides are really intended to be introductory information, and you can always go investigate more if you want more in-depth knowledge. There's a lot of resources in here I think that you'll find very helpful. And feel free to ask questions throughout. So like I said, my piece is probably about 15 minutes, so hopefully we'll get to most everything here. So thank you for joining us today. So real quickly, it's just going to talk a little bit about EMC if you're not familiar with this. A lot of people aren't, some people are. The IDC study, the digital universe, so kind of what's driving the need for storage, which obviously is, ICT and all of this talk is all the data and content we have, right, needs to be stored somewhere. And kind of how storage has evolved, just, it's not just a, disk attached to a server, but it can be much more advanced, storage area networking. And kind of EMC, what we're seeing in the industry and in the job market, and that the fact is that there's a lack of skilled storage professionals because most community colleges and universities aren't teaching this as a topic. And then a little bit about our program, and then, as I said, Dr. Mirogoff's demo, which I've already seen and it's very good. We did a practice run. So really quickly, EMC at a glance. We were a $15 billion company, and this is 2008. We don't have, obviously, our 2009 data yet, okay? So, that's a pretty good number, and we've been in business. Last year was our 30th anniversary, 30 years in business. So, if you aren't familiar with us, we are like roughly 40,000, a little over almost 42,000 employees in over 80 countries. And I think the real nice thing here, when you think about EMC, our size, our scalability, and our commitment to technology innovation is that over the last 20 years, we've invested at least $1 billion in R&D. Because obviously our customers are demanding, solutions for securing, storing, protecting, and managing their data. Oops, I almost went too far. I'm going to put this up here because it's not just our investment in R&D, but we've acquired, over 40 companies. We just announced another security acquisition like 2 days ago. In the RFA division of EMC. And I think Dave Nelson from VMware is giving a presentation after lunch, but a lot of people don't know is that EMC actually acquired VMware, and we own about 85% of them, but they operate completely as their own company. They treat us, EMC, as a partner. So, and as I mentioned, RFA in the security division. So Data Domain is a recent acquisition last year. So this just gives you a really good idea kind of, that EMC isn't just hardware, or the 6th, 7th largest software company. So we really have reinvented ourselves as a company, and you need to do that in this industry, I think, to stay, relevant and to really give your customers and what they need to, manage their information. Not just manage it, but you'll probably hear me say it a lot: store, protect, secure that information. So that's all about EMC. Anybody else have any questions about EMC? Okay. So the digital universe, if you haven't heard of this study, it's a great study. EMC has been updating this. We commissioned IDC to do this study, and we've had it updated for about the last 3 years. And it talks about the growth of data. And any idea how much data, and now again, this study, I only have last year's, because we're just now into 2010. Feels weird to say that. So I won't have, what would have happened. That'll be coming out probably in the next, 3 to 6 months. So how much data do you think in 2008 was created worldwide? Do you think it's in gigabytes, megabytes, terabytes, petabytes, exabytes? All right, you guys are good. It's in exabytes. So in 2008, 486 exabytes of digital information. And they project by the year 2012, 2,500 exabytes. So five-fold growth in the next, well, 4 years. Now we're talking about 3 years, right? A nice way to look at this is they say the digital universe doubles every 18 months. That's kind of another way to kind of gauge this. And I think the thing to keep in mind is it's not just the information that we create, it's all that replication of data, right? You've sent an email to 5 people with a picture attachment. Now that's stored locally, it's backed up, right, and all of that. So it becomes much bigger than just that one picture you sent. And the interesting thing here about this yellow line is that even if we wanted to store all of the information that's been created, we can't. There's not enough available storage. Granted, with the advances in technology and deduplication and whatnot, we're not going to store everything, right? We don't want to store multiple copies of everything. But, you know, even if we wanted to, we couldn't. And so let's see. So that is...
I'm doing this.
You're doing it for me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Timur. I thought I was doing it here, but I guess so, huh? I have my own, like, I didn't realize he was doing it. So how much data do you create? So how many photos do you think are taken every year? Millions, billions? How many, all three of these things are how many photos every year, how many video streams monthly on YouTube, how many pictures to Facebook every day? So do you mind building it? So 50 billion photos taken every year. 4.7 billion video streams monthly on YouTube, and 3 terabytes of photos are being uploaded to Facebook every day. So really what's driving the need for storage, right? It's all of this digital information. I was just in Gordon Snyder's Twitter session. I mean, think about Twitter, all these tweets, all the social media stuff that's really relevant to today and how we communicate, how we socialize, how we conduct business, right? I know, EMC has a focus on social media, right? I think all companies today, to be relevant, have to, and there's a lot of data being driven by that. So the digital information worldwide in 2012. The interesting thing is it's not just, when you think about who's creating all of this data, it's us as individuals, be it at our job, in our personal lives, students, when they're going to school, but the onus to manage, store, protect, secure that data falls to companies. So there's, that onus falls on the company. So when you're doing your banking, right, you want it to be secure, right? And when you go out there to pay your bills, you want it to be up. So there's no affordability for downtime of this information. And you don't want that information to have a security breach. I mean, they have to notify you now with compliance laws, right? If your credit card information or any of your financial information gets compromised. So that's where it really gets kind of scary that when you think about the information that we create, it's not just what we create and contribute, but it's the information that's created about us that we're not even really maybe as conscious of. All of our internet buying, right? I know when I go to Logan Airport and park my car for the, taking a trip like this one, they video capture all of that information. So if you forget where you parked your car, they can help you out, right? Which is interesting. Yeah, please. Okay. So I put this up here because, as I said, it's our 30th anniversary, but EMC last year, but we shipped our first Symmetrics, so our high-end storage array 20 years ago. How much data do you think, usable data you had for storing on that first Symmetric? Any idea? You think it's megabytes, gigabytes, petabytes? How much do you think? 20 years ago, think about how much is valuable. Megabytes? Okay. You want to just build the first one? So this Symmetric's 4200, okay, shipped with 24 gigabytes. Okay, you can get an iPod today with more storage availability than you could on the first high-end Symmetric we shipped 20 years ago. Now you can get 2 petabytes of usable storage on our new VMAX Symmetric for the virtual computing. Has flash drives and that and everything. So it's pretty amazing, our need for available storage today. I like to put this up here because I think it really kind of clearly demonstrates where we've come in 20 years and that we're probably not far off from yottabytes and zettabytes, which are after exabytes, okay? Kind of scary. And this just gives you an idea of all the various, I mean, when we think about storage, a lot of people might think it's just disk, but there's a lot of different kinds of storage based on the scalability, the performance you need, the ways, the protocols you're going to use, and all of that thing. There's the storage platform just for archiving, for fixed content. There's a lot of different types of it that, I think storage is sexy, but not everybody does, okay? I know Dave's presentation from VMware is sexy, all right? Virtualization is hot and sexy, right? So I have to make it as interesting as possible. All right, so that's just a quick bit about the digital universe. There's a multimedia white paper. We update that every year, so it's a lot of good data. A lot of stuff that I couldn't fit in here that I do encourage you to go take a look at. So quickly, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. A lot of companies now, maybe not so much, but still think have direct attached storage, where they just have, right, they have their servers and they have storage attached to it. And this model is not very effective for many reasons. What about if sales, if this is sales, marketing, think about the various groups within a company that all have their servers, their own applications that are storing data. If they want to share, if let's say you need more capacity in sales and in marketing, can they share data? Or share capacity. They can't. They can't share that data, and they can't share capacity because that storage system is only connected to that server and available to that server. So what's been driving a lot of these technology advances, obviously virtualization, all companies is driven by cost, right? Why are companies virtualized? Well, they want to get better return on their investment, right? And they have cost to contain, right? Because they have more and more data and more applications. I mean, if you go into any company now, it's not just a few applications, it's probably hundreds of applications that you're running to do your business. So you can go to the next one here. So it really, this is an example of a storage area network. So it becomes much more complex, right? In this model, does anything jump out at you what you can do with this model? The main thing here is, okay, you have redundant paths to your data now, right? So if one path goes down, you can get to the data from another path. And now, if one application or one department needs more capacity, they can easily do that without having to add another storage device. So you're going to get better utilization of your storage. And I took this example up here. There's a lot of technologies, cloud computing has been brought up, and things that I can't really get into in this presentation. But I think, EMC sort of, they like to say drinking their own champagne. I still like the Kool-Aid analogy personally. One I relate to better, maybe because I used to drink grape Kool-Aid as a kid, but we were facing, a $30 million data center upgrade, and we needed to avoid that, right? We didn't want to invest $30 million. So we really got focused and said, hey, we're going to commit to total virtualization last year. And I think it's very compelling when you think about we've implemented virtualization. We went from 1,852 servers to 93 apps. Okay, our server racks went down. We consolidated our storage. Tiering allowed us to do that. So you see this utilization that happens because instead of keeping everything on high end, things like email and stuff that after 30, 60, 90 days old, we can put it on a lower end storage platform, and it's very rarely called up, but you still need it available. So I think this is very compelling. I think when we talk about green IT and all of the things that are driving that, we reduced our carbon footprint, and all of these things will reduce our power and cooling, which is a really big thing that most companies, they just can't keep adding more and more equipment because A, they don't have the space, and B, the power and cooling costs are so expensive. So that just gives you a quick flavor of kind of how EMC is implementing our own technologies. So really quickly, this is also a study that EMC has done the last 3 years. It's a survey we do to about 1,600 IT and storage professionals. And our goal is to really find out, with all this data growth, all these technologies people are facing, how are they handling it? What are their biggest challenges? What kinds of resources do they need, right, to fill the jobs and the types of, with all the advances that they need to manage, store, protect, and secure their data. So no surprise, the number one challenge is managing their storage growth. Okay, and this has been that number one top thing for the last 3 years. The second one is design, deploying, and managing their backup and recovery, and the third one is their disaster recovery. There are a few others on here, but number 9, as you can see, there's a lack of skilled storage professionals. So they're all saying they need people that have this skill set. Because they're not teaching this in most colleges and universities, what they end up having to do is getting on-the-job training, right? When people get into the industry, right? They go through the product training. So here, how are they planning to hire for the next 12 months? And we did this study, and what we found is even in that down economy, right, they are planning to hire an additional 17% to grow their storage team by. And if you go out to Monster or Hot Jobs, and you search on these roles, storage manager, administrator, architect, this is business continuity, and this is backup and recovery, you'll start to see these job roles out there. So these jobs are out there. Maybe it's not in a huge number, but they're growing. So where do they plan to find this expertise? Well, everybody wants to hire experienced people, right? They get internally appointed. That happens a lot with storage. You're the database guy, you're not going to be the storage guy. They hire certified, right? Because then you have another entity, not yourself, saying you know something about the topic and the technology. And these numbers flipped. New college graduates went higher than engaging consultants last year. So they are hiring more and more college graduates into jobs. Actually, I don't know if most of you are familiar with Surf Magazine, but they come out with a study every year that they do, and I think it was like 16,000 people. And they do it every December. And what you'll find here, they usually, I was kind of disappointed because they usually do one by specialization. And they talk about it in the article. They don't have a graph this year. But anyhow, if you look here at the EMC ones, what you'll see, I think, is that all of these are breaking 100K, all of these job roles. Now, let's be realistic. Students are going to come out of school, and you're not going to make that kind of money. But it will really inform, what kind of careers and what kind of certifications do they want to go after, and what has longevity. So that's why I put that up here. But this is a great article to really inform you if you're not familiar with it. So, and what EMC would say is, I think now what we know is in most companies, even if you're focused on databases or you're focused on networking, you still need to work with all the other groups within IT, within the data center, okay? And so you still need to know a little bit about, what everybody else is doing. And so EMC would say, hey, even the database, the network, the application, the IT people need to understand storage, right? It's going to affect that. And so that's where our program from EMC, do you mind here just going to the next slide? I'll jump because I know I want to give 2 more next time. So if you want to stop here just for 1 second and build that, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Here, when I talked about the data center, right? So what we know is that in most community college and 4-year computer science IT programs, MIS, and depending on the school, is that they've been teaching database networks, applications, and OS and servers. But what they haven't been focusing on is the information storage piece. And so where it goes into that, no matter what you're going to focus on, you need to know a little bit about all of these things. We're saying you need to include some knowledge about this. Go to the next slide. And that's where EMC, our particular program, has 1 course, technology. It's basically technology-based. So we're not teaching actually our product. And here what we're teaching is the fundamentals of it. So whether you're going to work on HP, EMC, IBM, this curriculum will be relevant to that. And these are the things that are basic, the high-level concepts that are covered in the book. And this is tied to an EMC certification. When you think about EMC certification in our pyramid, this is at the bottom. So if you want to become a product specialist like Clarion, Symmetric, Solera, any of the hardware platforms, you have to first become certified in what I call ISM, Information Storage and Management. Wow, I love it. It's a mouthful. So that's where this really is that foundation for anybody who wants to go into this industry. And those are the concepts I don't want to. Here, with our program, here are some of the partners. I am very pleased to say that a lot of the partners that are at ATE centers and certified NSF are also in our program. So Brookdale is one of them, Moraine Valley, Foothill, who's part of MTech here, okay. Orange Coast, Philadelphia, Texas here, so a lot of those schools. Quincy, Vermont, I forgot, it was from Massachusetts too. We have someone from here as well, and we're actually doing an event with them in February. So, but there's a lot of great, I just listed a lot of the community colleges up here, but we obviously have 4-year schools as well. But this just gives a high level of kind of who the players are. You can go to the next slide. So how do you get involved and how would you join our program? Well, really, there's an online application we have. It's very simple. You go out there, it's a click-throughout application. And really, the only requirement is that you have a relevant technology program and that you have to offer it for academic credit. So it can't be continuing education. We do that because we're giving you all this stuff, which is nice. It's free. Okay, there's no cost. We give it to you for free. So that's kind of the reason why it has to be for academic credit. What then would happen is we would enroll you in a training, a 5-day training. You can choose. We have instructor-led sessions, and we're doing Mohammed this year is going to be doing our virtual online version, so you don't even have to travel anywhere. Given the costs and things that people have been facing, we want to have an alternative for people where they don't have to pay for the travel and expense. Andy Keelan, who's not here, who is the CTC that's off on the HE Center, we did, and I'm trying to hopefully, maybe I'll put a plug here for Pierre, but I'm trying to get on the June Professional Development Week for the MTech training in June to offer this as part of that. So hopefully there's enough interest, then we can offer the training that week as well. But I really like to do that. So it would be a 5-day training, then we ask you to get certified. We give you a free exam voucher to do that. And then once you do that, it's really when to offer the course. And I was just at Orange Coast, and I was doing student info sessions there. So when you get ready to launch it, if you want some help from us to gain student interest, we'll come to campus and we'll talk to students so that they understand the importance and why this would be valuable to them. And then you just start teaching. And all EMC asks for is the number of students who are going through the program. But we're running a lot of great campaigns within the program this year, like the first 150 students certified in the U.S. get a free iOmega portable hard drive. If you get 20 students certified, then EMC is giving the school an iOmega 4 terabyte NAS device, and we're also giving a professor a home theater device. So we're always trying to have some incentive things for professors. And, because obviously I think we're all motivated a little bit. It's intrinsic, but we all like stuff, right? Why not? So there's some programs there that I didn't mention, but just a few things. So really the high level is, information storage is one of the fastest growing sectors of IT. I don't have last year's, but about $66 billion in 2008 industry. I've alluded a little bit that, I think companies, business, and IT want people who have, knowledge of all 5 pillars that I mentioned. And, obviously I think students need that formal education, but having some industry certifications will really, I think, make them stand out against other students that are going for the same job. So that's pretty much it. Questions?
So what does EMC do as an academic institution?
Yeah, yes. And then Timur's going to do his demo. Yeah. So what we give is, we give you the book. So the book now is published by Wiley. And what we do is the professors, we can get an e-doc copy from them, or we'll give you a free copy. Then the students would just buy that book like they would any other book. And it completely is the same content that we teach in our corporate course. We just packaged it differently to make it more academic friendly. We were giving the corporate materials away, but we found that was, it works, but the book is a much nicer way, I think, of because it meets how you're delivering most of your other courses. So basically you get the use of the curriculum, and then what we give, once you get certified, we allow you into a secure e-room. And what you get is PowerPoints for every chapter. We have simulators. We have use cases. We have all kinds of resources available to you. So basically, the idea is a canned course that you can add your own stuff to it. If you want to add other vendor content, that's fine by us. We couldn't do it because we can't be liable for other people's content.
You have to be how many hours?
Yeah, it's designed to be a 40-hour course, so one semester or 1 quarter, depending upon how you do it. We don't actually tell you what to call it or any of that. We leave that up to you guys. I mean, we basically say, here's the course. What we ask is you offer a course based on this book. It is really the thing. If you want to do sections, basically we say, hey, you have the book, go do, you can do whatever you want. But if you want all the resources and training, then we ask that you offer a course based on the book. So.
What are the hardware requirements?
We actually don't require any hardware. We didn't want to exclude people. We didn't want to say, hey, join our program and not get
okay.
Sorry, we got to get him started, right?
Okay.
But anyhow, I know we started a little bit behind, but his is about 20 minutes.
I'll give you the time when you get
So maybe I could answer it, but real quickly, we don't require hardware. There are a team who's going to do the demo, going to demo an open source software that you could use. And if you go to Dave's session on virtualization, they're very tied to storage and virtualization. They're very complementary. We're also going to talk about how you can connect with open file or IPv targets to virtual machines. So what we have is simulators, but we're going to be coming out this year with a storage or if you want to do buy equipment, a sample equipment set, and labs. But that would be optional.
I will turn
We just didn't want to eliminate
and
people.
if you turn
by
on your
saying
microphone and then you are out, okay? Not now.
Oh,
I think it's-
yeah, whenever they come out would have an educational discount too.
Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't say, okay, now you have to see. That would really kind of not be very partner friendly, would it? So, yes.
Can this course be part of an existing course? Does it have to be set?
Well, I guess it would depend on, for you to decide how much of the content you think you're going to cover.
Pardon?
So if you think you can cover a majority of the content, I would say that you
Yeah, you
fit
want
within
to
that.
take
If you say you're only going to cover like two chapters, that probably isn't going to work.
Well, we have a 5-minute virtual edition course.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, his question, sorry. His question was just you put the course within an existing course.
Right.
And I said, you know, if you're going to cover a majority of the content, I would say, yeah, that would work. If you're not, then I would say it's not really an exact fit for how the program's been put together. But hey, that's why we have the book. So you could do a few chapters on your own, and depending on how that goes, you may then decide, well, yeah, this has got, you know, some good legs, and I'm going to offer it as a course. Any other questions? Okay, I don't want to take up too much more,
This is very
more
exciting.
time.
We are going to stop the recording here.
All right, so I guess everybody can hear me okay? All right, I can see Pierre typing to me. So what I'm going to do, by the way, my name is Dr. Timur Mirzoyev. I come from Georgia Southern University, and I'm going to explain to you how to set up OpenFiler, which is a free operating system. And I do teach both classes for VMware and EMC. So let me start the application sharing, and then you will see step-by-step instructions on how to do it. Originally, I was going to create a PowerPoint presentation, but I did find this website. If you want, you can take a note of this on top. This website explains in detail what you need to do step-by-step during the installation. The types of hardware that you need, it's really just a basic PC with hard drives. OpenFiler will work on really inexpensive computers, so nothing really that, excuse me, nothing really expensive. If you have a PC that's laying around, it'll probably work. You just need to add hard drives to it. All right. The operating system is available free of charge, and you can download it. It's about 320 megabytes, and create an ISO and install it from CD. Once you install the CD, insert the CD, you'll see the screen, and basically choose the graphical mode, and we'll proceed with the next slide. All the keyboard layouts. I would say that disk partition would be the very important step in the installation process. As you can see that you've got the three important partitions, which is boot, swap, and the root partitions. Each one of them requires certain space, and also you need to be very careful with doing the root partition if you have one hard drive, because OpenFiler, if you specify to just take up the whole space of that hard drive, it's going to install the system on it, and once you start the operating system, then you will have no space left. So my suggestion here would be to, once you click here on New, you can create a new partition, and under mount point you can select the boot partition right there. And on this slide, they correctly recommend about 100 megabytes for boot partition, which is perfectly fine. You'll select the ext3 operating system for you, and that's about it for the boot partition. Then when we create the root partition, they say that minimum should be a minimum of 2,000 megabytes, actually a minimum of 1,000 right there. So that's what I do for my operating system. All I do is select the root and then the ext3, and I give it 1,000 megabytes, no more, because that's what's going to be taken from your first drive or the single drive that you have. And notice here, it's they didn't select a fixed size, so I would recommend you select a fixed size instead of doing filter maximum allowable space, so the operating system won't take everything you have on that drive. Third partition would be a swap partition, and they say that at least, in this slide they say at least 1,000 megabytes and not exceed 2,000 megabytes. But really the calculations for a swap partition would be 1.5 times the memory that you installed in the machine. And then once you create these partitions, you should have all three of those. There's the boot, there's the root, and the swap. And you just click next, and on the next slide, networking configuration will come up. Also, it's an important step in the process, because in here you will set up the, if you choose DHCP setup or manual setup, it is very important to set it up manually, because if you do it via DHCP, every time you boot your storage, you'll get a new IP address, and you'll have a hard time finding what that IP address is. You set the gateway, primary DNS, secondary DNS, and the third one if you have so many of them. And also in here you click on Edit. Once you click on Edit button, this screen will come up, and you need to select Activate on Boot, which is important as well. If you don't select this, it will not activate your network card. So once you select that, you can type in the IP address that you want, the net mask, and click OK. And then the simple steps would be like time zone selection, root password, and click Next for the install. This screen confirms that you've installed the operating system OK, and really it will take you about maybe 10 minutes, maybe less, to install the whole system. And from that point on, once it reboots, it is very convenient to log into a web interface. So I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to my quit sharing this application, go to a different one, so I can show you how to log in to OpenFiler system once you install it. I'm using my remote desktop connection, and Pierre, if you would just confirm that it's visible to the attendees of the session. So I'll log into this server, and from there, this server is on the same network as the OpenFiler box that I just set up, and I'll click on the just simply a web browser. The way you can log into OpenFiler would be an HTTPS address and the IP address that you set for that machine, then at port 446, and just hit enter. This is a standard port to log in for OpenFiler 446, so don't forget HTTPS and all that. What's happening now, Internet Explorer is checking the certificate, and it says there's a problem, but really there's no problem, and we just continue to the website. All right, once you continue to the website, you should be able to see this OpenFiler login screen, and you can just type in the default username, password. Default username is OpenFiler, and the password would be password, but I would recommend that you change it later. All right, and after the login, the first screen that comes up is going to explain, or just give you an outline of what kind of hardware it is. And as I told you before, if you look at this, this is really a simple system. This is a dual-core AMD processor, very inexpensive. I think it was like $60 for that processor, 2.7 gigahertz, and the amount of memory that I allocated or it has installed is 4 gigabytes. All the PCI devices and so on. And on the bottom you will see those partitions that we talked about earlier, which is the boot partition, the root, and there's also the swap. From this point, we need to go to first services. The first step in setting up iSCSI target server would be to enable that service on the OpenFire. So I'll click enable, and now it says enabled, and that means that service is running, that iSCSI daemon is running. So also notice that on the right side here on the screen, the menu changes when you choose different tabs. For example, if I click on volumes, we'll see that that menu changed right here. Just to confirm that we have hard drives identified by OpenFire, if you click on block devices, you'll be able to see all the devices installed. There's an ID drive, this is a SATA drive, so basically I have 4 drives in here. You can also view the partitions. Partitions that that you see on the first drive are just the ones that are boot, and swap, and then the free space. There is the free space. So as I told you before, if you would allocate the whole space on that drive, you wouldn't see the free space on this drive. And then SDA, SDB, and SDC are pretty standard naming conventions for Linux for your SCSI device. It recognizes a SCSI serial ATA. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to click on the volumes, and this is where we start setting up our LUNs under targets. So basically, here you can select all 4 drives and create one volume group. Or what I'm going to do, I'm going to just select one drive and create one, and I'll add that volume group. And I'll select the second drive, and how do I know it's a second one? It's an SDA drive. So, and it'll be a 1, 2. It's very important to follow the sequence of steps, what I'm showing you now, because if you do it otherwise, you will not have volumes. You can't set up the shares and so on. So the sequence is very essential. So I'm doing the same for all 4 drives. And here's the last one, 1, 4. And as you can see, we've got all of them listed on top. There's one more should appear just in a second. So we've got all these drives, and they have all the LUNs set up on those drives. If you see the sign here, that means you can't really create any more volume groups. All your space is taken. So what we need to do now, we need to create manage volumes, and what we need to do, we'll go to shares, and we'll need to create a share on those LUNs that we've just created. Notice that I can select the right LUN from a drop-down list. So let me select the first one and click change. Alright, now it changed. I see it's my 70 gigabyte drive, and I'll type in LUN 1, and I'll allocate all the space here to that LUN. So what I'm trying to achieve is I'm trying to create 4 LUNs under the same iSCSI target. And the file system volume type, this is really a volume type because iSCSI is a block device, so I'll select iSCSI and click create. So I just finished creating one LUN, and it's ready to go. Let me do the same for all the other ones. I'll create a new file system on LUN 2, and it gives me an option to create it here. I'll allocate all 300 gigabytes available. Those are different drives. One of them is 70 gigabytes and the other three are 300. They're actually 320s, but the system sees them as 300. So I'll do the same for LAN 3. And if you wonder what is a LAN, it's a logical unit number. It's similar to a partition, but it has some differences, I guess. It's still thinking, and as you can see, I just unintentionally made a mistake. I named LAN 4 for LAN 3 device, so I'm going to delete it. I don't want to have a confusion between the names, because when I teach the class, I want to identify the correct drives with the correct volumes on that storage device. So let me do it one more time. Go to shares, and let me call it the right way now. I'll do LAN 3, and I'll go to 300 gigabytes iSCSI and click create. And we have the last drive would be LAN 4. Change to that. Give it a name. I'll allocate 300 and choose iSCSI. Click create. As you can see, the steps are fairly simple. So at this point, we have set up our volume groups. We have our shares in those volume groups, and it says we have volumes on those volume groups. So we're good to go to set up iSCSI target. This is where you add an iSCSI target. Notice that it says open filer, and it's going to be a pretty standard naming convention. IQN, iSCSI qualified name, open filer, and then some of the numbers and alphabetic letters. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this open filer 4. It's okay to change this. I wouldn't change the first portion, but I'm going to call this open filer 4 because they have 4 storage devices like that. Later on, I'll show you why, because it will be much easier to identify which storage device is presenting the target to you. We just created a iSCSI target, and we have all these attributes that I don't recommend to change from default values, so we can leave it like that. Now we'll go to LAN mapping, and as you can see, all my LANs that I've created, you've got LAN 1, 2, 3, 4. I just need to map them to this iSCSI target. It is your choice to create multiple targets if you want, with each LAN mapped to a separate target, but I choose to have 4 LANs under one target. It's easier to manage it on ESX servers that way. Now we need to set up the access control list. If we click on here, you don't see anything. So what's wrong? Nothing is really wrong. You just need to click on the different tab. And system, this system tab, verify that you have the right host name, verify that you have the right DNS, and in this scenario I have 4 different network cards. I configured them in the bond, so all of them are doing traffic shaping as one card. I'll give this ESX1 name, and what I need to do is just give the IP range for this access list, and I'll give it a net mask. Click update. So at this point we should have the access control list set up, and notice this check mark. If you check this and click update, it will delete that list, and you can create multiple ones. So now I'm going to go back to volumes because I need a different menu, and click on iSCSI targets, and look, now we've got the ACL, and all we need to do is allow this entity to connect to this iSCSI target. If you have multiple ones, you can select which ACLs are going to connect to what. So I'm going to click Update. And at this point, we're pretty much done with the setup. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next session.
Information, I have some handout here.
Thank you, Timur.
Yeah, Timur is great.
As you mentioned, Timur will also present after this. Do presentation of VMware. He also has some live presentation from Georgia.
If you want any information, come down here, and I also have a copy of the book if you want to take a look at it. And they're going to raffle off a few of these books as part of the raffle. And it's actually really light. They come from recycled paper, so it's actually not very heavy. So thank you guys for your time. I hope you guys have a good rest of the conference.
And Kim, I have something for you.
Thank you. So, thank you. Some chocolate.
Chocolate from.
It's a 5-hour plane ride back.
Thank you.
Chocolate.
Thank you.